Let me invite you this morning to find your sermon notes, if you can. We'll take a look at some of the answers up on the screen. Primarily we do this so that you can have something to refer to throughout the week so that you can remember the message. Also tell little stories every week or anecdotes to help you remember the message as well. Do a lot of reading every week to try and find some different illustrations. So I came across one this week that you may conclude may or may not have anything to do with the message, but it's a good way to start. So it's a story about Abraham Lincoln. Now usually, whenever I find a story, I will try and figure out if it's actually true. And I could not. I'm quite certain that the story about Abraham Lincoln and the quote from it are not from the Gettysburg Address. I know that. But where it came from, I'm not really sure. Anyways, the story goes like this. When Lincoln was a young man, he met a man on the street. And we all know that Lincoln was not the best, most handsome-looking man that you've ever seen. So he ran into a man, and the man pulled out a gun, and he pointed it at his forehead. And the man said, I made an oath when I was young that if I ever ran into a man who was uglier than me, I would shoot him dead on the spot. Well, Lincoln, of course, has a very calm demeanor. He is a man of great composure. And so he simply said, well, if I am indeed uglier than you, you might as well shoot me because I don't want to live. The reason that I brought that up is because I am a man who is occasionally rational and usually sane, and I reflect from time to time about what my life might look like, especially having done hundreds of funerals and hearing others talk about the person who is in front of the church, describing the life that was well lived. I don't want to just live life, and I don't think you do either. But we all want to live a life that is full of meaning, a life that is well lived, a life we can reflect upon later and know that we did the very best. I also bring that up because when it comes to counseling, people will often say to me, for example, if they're having trouble with their spouse or their children, and they'll usually point to the other person and they will say, well, they're trying to find themselves. And so many marriages break up because one or the other is trying to find themselves. Or a man, say, of my age is having the proverbial midlife crisis, and he'll say, well, I'm trying to find myself. And so he'll go do things that he never would have done before. Or he'll buy things that he never would have bought before. Or maybe there's the teenager, the young person, and after college they want to go find themselves. Maybe they go to California, or maybe they go to the East Coast, or maybe they travel the country, or maybe they even go to Europe. I'm convinced that they usually don't want to try and find themselves, but rather they want to try and find out how much of their parents' money they can actually spend. Well, here's the point. If we are going to find ourselves, if we do want to lead a good life, if we want to live a life that is full of the abundance that God intends for all of us, then we must see ourselves as we really are. And there are 5 words this morning that I want you to remember. They were in our gospel. 5 words that tell us not only who Jesus is, but remind us who we are and will help us find ourselves. These words, I am the good shepherd. Jesus says, I am the good shepherd. He says many things in John chapter 10. He says he's the door. He says he's the gate. But over and over he says, I am the good shepherd. So let me ask you, what does a shepherd need to be a shepherd? They really only need one thing, and that is sheep. So if Jesus is the good shepherd, he says he is, we know he is, then what does that make us? Sheep. So put that up on the screen. We begin here. If you want to live a full life, a good life, an abundant life, if you want to find peace and meaning and love and joy, if you want people to stand by your casket to give a eulogy for you and say, this was a life well lived, then you must understand you are a sheep. And if you can't understand that, you will never live the full and abundant life. And you say, well, it's not a very flattering description. And you'd be right. Now, when Laura's up here, she has her cute, cuddly, furry little sheep. But that's not what sheep are really like. So if you go ahead and put it up on the screen, first of all, sheep are some of the dumbest animals you will ever meet. Now, I don't know, about the only thing dumber I can think of is a turkey, and that's a bird. I don't know if it even counts. Turkeys are so dumb that they will try and drink the rain during a rainstorm and literally drown. You can train almost any animal. Any dog owners in here? Right? You can train a dog. Any cat owners in here? You can train a cat if they agree to it. You can even train a flea. But you cannot train a sheep. There are no sheep circuses, right? Sheep are so dumb that they will go and find a stream in which to drink, but they will get into the stream and they will drown. Sheep are so dumb that if they see a cliff, they will go look over the side and then they will fall to their death. You won't find a dumber animal. Secondly, they have poor eyesight. Not a bad thing in and of itself, except it lends themselves to getting lost repeatedly. They can't see where they're going. They can't see where they've been. They're so dumb they don't remember where they've been. They get lost all the time. Number 3, they lack common sense. Someone told me after the last service that all I really was doing was describing men here. I'm like, what? There's a sheep. Number 4, they are creatures of bad hygiene. Hence the men thing again. I grew up on a pig farm. Sheep are dumb compared to pigs. Pigs are intelligent. They're also, contrary to popular belief, they have very good hygiene. I mean, as far as animals can have. You see, pigs understand the difference between a bathroom and a living room and a dining room. And so they go to the bathroom in the bathroom, they eat in the dining room, and they live in the living room, 3 separate places. Sheep, on the other hand, get them all confused and think they're all the same. And so they literally will eat in the midst of their manure. They will lie down in it, hence the bad hygiene. So, not a very flattering picture of sheep, but that is who we are according to the Bible. 300 times we are mentioned as sheep in the Bible. But there is a difference, a very large difference. You see, sheep do not worry. Humans do. Sheep are too dumb to know they should be worrying. Humans think they are so smart that they worry about everything. They worry about the future. They worry about the past. They worry about the things that they think they can control. They worry about the things that they can't control. So you really have only 2 choices when it comes to worry, right? There it is in your notes. You can either try to handle them yourselves, or you can let someone else handle them for you. That's really about it. So a good illustration, I know I've told this story before, but it's worth telling again. There was a man by the name of Bob. Do we have any Bobs in here this morning? Sorry to pick on you if we have any Bobs. All right. Bob was a worrier. Bob's a mega worrier. Bob worries about everything. Bob worries about his family. Bob worries about his children. Bob worries about his wife. He worries about his house. He worries about his lawn. He worries about the dandelions. He worries about cleaning up every week to see that it's going to look good. He worries about his image in his neighborhood. He worries about the schools. He worries about the government. He worries about everything. And he worries so much that it affects his health. So Bob begins to lose his hair. And then he has high blood pressure. He develops diabetes. He gets an ulcer. And he worries even more than about his health that it affects all of his personal relationships. Bob's a mess. Until one day. One day Bob comes out of his house and he is singing. He has joy and harmony in his heart. And his neighbor says, "Bob, what happened?" And he says, "Well, I'm not worrying anymore." "Wow, Bob, why aren't you worrying anymore?" He said, "Well, I hired a professional worrier." Really? How much does that cost? $1,000 a day. The neighbor says, "Bob, you can't afford $1,000 a day. What are you going to do? How are you going to pay him?" He goes, "I don't know. That's his worry." Two choices. There will be areas of concern in everyone's life because we live in a sin-filled world. There will be conflicts. There will be financial concerns. There will be illness. There will even be death. You can either try and handle them yourself, or you can let the Good Shepherd do it for you. And the good news for us this morning is there is no price that we could ever pay. But the Good Shepherd does it voluntarily because of his love for the sheep. No matter how despicable we are, no matter the dumb choices we've made, no matter how many times we have strayed, no matter how many times we think we know we are right, we go in the wrong direction, no matter how bad our hygiene or our common sense, we have a shepherd who loves us. If you don't remember anything else today, I want you to remember this. It's the next point. Sheep, and you are sheep, need not fear when the shepherd is near. And there are three things there that I want to go through for you very quickly this morning. First of all, when I'm in the dark, the Good Shepherd, who is God, will guide me. Matthew says, when Jesus saw the crowds, he had compassion for them. Why? Because they were harassed and helpless, like sheep without a shepherd. You know, sheep have no sense of direction. They don't know north from south, east from west. And because they have no sense of direction, unless they have someone to lead them, they will just go wherever. They will wander. How many times have we heard people say, "I just lost my direction in life"? How many times have we seen spouses wander away, children wander away? How many times have people recklessly gone over the cliff of materialism, the cliff of worldliness, the cliff of abuse, alcoholism, or drug use, simply because they have lost their way, and because we are by nature followers, we will follow anything and anyone that seems like they are headed in the right direction. And so we need a shepherd, and we need to listen to his voice. And yet there are false shepherds. There are thieves and robbers. And Jesus pointed this out. He said, the shepherd goes in through the door. It's through the acceptable place. It's in full view of everyone, but the thief or the robber, he climbs over the wall, hoping no one will notice, so he can steal the sheep. But not only that, the thief, if the sheep make noise, will kill them. And so they steal and they rob and they destroy. You see, we have this false shepherd, this thief called Satan. And he doesn't lead like the Good Shepherd does, but rather he drives. And he drives us with worries about the future and guilt about the past. Anybody in here ever feel guilty sometimes about things that they've done wrong? Sure we do, don't we? And it's a God-given mechanism so that we repent of our sin. But how long is that guilt supposed to last? Just momentarily. Until you confess. So you can receive forgiveness and turn your life around and head in the opposite direction. That's called repentance. But the devil says, no, that's not good enough. You got to suffer a little more. You got to feel some more guilt. And he drives us with that. And then he plants other seeds of doubt and he says, you're not worthy of forgiveness. You don't deserve to be a sheep. Look at all the times you've strayed. How could the shepherd ever love you again? Look at your track record. And so in life, when you're confused and you wonder which is the right direction, know always that Satan will drive you in the wrong direction, away from the green pastures and the still waters, and certainly away from the path of righteousness. But the Good Shepherd, He's the one who always leads you in the right direction, out of the darkness and into the light. Secondly, when I'm in danger, God will protect me. The Good Shepherd will protect me. Now we need to know that we are sheep. Just a reminder, we are sheep. And sheep are totally defenseless. Did you ever notice that God gives animals protection? So dogs have teeth, right? They can bite, protect themselves. Cats have claws, they can protect themselves. Skunks can spray, protect themselves. Rabbits are fast, they can run away. Turtles are slow, but they have a shell so they can protect themselves. Even the possum can play dead. You know what happens to a sheep when it tries to roll over and play dead? Can't get back up again. We're sheep. Totally defenseless. And yet we have this idea that we are in control of everything. We need to understand that we are sheep. But the good news again, the shepherd, the Good Shepherd, lays down his life for the sheep. What do you think when Jesus says something in the Bible, should you listen to it? Should you listen to his voice? How about when he says it over and over and over and over and over and over and over again? 4 times in the Gospel of John, and John just in this one chapter, chapter 10, Jesus says, I am the Good Shepherd, and the Good Shepherd lays down his life for the sheep. We need to pay attention to that. As your pastor, I am a prophet of sorts, one to tell you the good news, and one also to warn you of what's going to happen in life. Now, I'm not a prophet in the sense that I can predict much of anything. I can predict some things like when I don't make my bed at home, I'm in trouble with my wife. I can predict that. Or when I don't put the dishes in the dishwasher, I'm in trouble. I can predict that. But generally, I can say that someone in this room this year, someone in our congregation is going to go through hard times. Shocker, right? We know that is true because of our past experience. I can predict that there are going to be relationships that will be strained this year. I can even predict in our congregation that there will be divorce. There will be children who are estranged from their parents. Some of you are going to have financial concerns. Some of you will lose your job. Some of you will have to make incredibly difficult decisions about illness because your loved one is they're on their deathbed. Some of you will lose loved ones. The Good Shepherd does not protect us from all the difficulties of this life. The shepherd doesn't control all of the weather or the insects or the disease and all those things that are out there, but he does go with the sheep. And so the Good Shepherd will be with you in the midst of your conflict. The Good Shepherd will be there to give you strength and encouragement when your family is estranged, when your wife or your husband is leaving. And He will be there with you at that deathbed along with your loved one. He will be there in every single situation. And we also have a good shepherd who not only laid down his life for us, which he did on the cross, but he also then rose from the grave and has conquered even the greatest of all evils. You see, no matter what you're going through, even if it is death itself, that is not the end, because even death leads to the good and the abundant life, because it will be with the Good Shepherd forever in heaven. When I am in danger, God will indeed protect me from all the evils of this life and the next. For if He has conquered death, He can conquer anything. Finally, then, when I am in desperation, God knows exactly what I need. Jesus said, I am the good shepherd. I know my own, and my own know me, just as the Father knows me, and I know the Father. The good shepherd knows his sheep. He knows your identity. He knows your name. He knows everything about you. He knows which of you tend to get in trouble. He knows which of you tend to wander and stray. He knows exactly what to feed you. He knows exactly where to lead you. And it is to the green pastures, the still waters, the path of righteousness. He promises that He will be there in the midst of the presence of your enemies, that there will be a banqueting table that will overflow with blessings. And He says, surely goodness and mercy will follow you all the days of your life, and you will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. The Good Shepherd goes with you through this life. He provides the peace and the joy that makes this life worth living. And no matter what, one day, He will continue that journey with you to the very best life possible, which ends in heaven. Let us understand again today, we are sheep. And let us rely on the Good Shepherd. Not this world, not the thieves and the robbers, not even our own self. Rely on the Good Shepherd to provide the abundant life that we all desire. So that not only will we know we've lived that life, but the world will know as well. And they will point to us at the end and talk about the good life that we experienced. May God grant that to you for Jesus' sake. Amen.